Hey, it's Brielle with Seibert Solutions, and today I'm joined by Christian with Resolution, and we're going to be talking about SAML single sign-on.
Hey, thanks for having me, and yeah, I look forward to give you a quick rundown of the application. We're the number one single sign-on app in the Atlassian Marketplace, and relatively enterprise-focused in our feature set. So Data Center has a basic functionality itself already, but if you have more complicated use cases, that's actually when you use our app. I'm going to quickly show you a setup together with Entrada or SID, as it used to be called, but it's a similar process for all the other identity providers. And I just want to explain 2-3 terms and one thing, and then we jump into the application. So if we talk about single sign-on, we're not just talking about authentication. We're talking usually about 2 steps. One thing is, how do I get the user records into the Atlassian application like Confluence or Jira? So user synchronization, for example. And the other part is then authenticating that user that is in the application via some central identity provider, etc. So we're going to go through those 2 steps. And I think the other concept that's important to know is how SAML works on a very high level. It's the same with OpenID Connect, which we also support. So there are details that are different, but if you get the gist, both works very similarly. If you're not authenticated and you go to your Jira, for example, Jira sees that you're not authenticated and then redirects you to the identity provider, which in turn does all the authentication. And once you're authenticated, that identity provider redirects you back to the Atlassian application. That's what you see on the screen at the moment if you want to pause and have a read of it. But that's the fundamental. And there are some SAML messages together with those redirects that authenticate us as an application to the identity provider. And also the identity provider gives us back the identity of the user that's successfully authenticated and authenticates itself as the identity provider that we can trust. So there's no passwords being exchanged or anything. It's all cryptographically done, and the identity provider is the only thing that really authenticates the user and knows the user's password. Right, let's quickly jump into the setup. This is my Jira. You see it's pretty empty, only an admin user. And now we start with the first step, setting up the user synchronization so that we get the user records into our Jira. So our app is already installed. That's why you get this user sync. So go there. And I hope I have, a bit slow, but seems to work. First thing is I create a connector to SID. I've done the setup on SID. That's about 5-minute work as well, which we can't really fit in a 7-8 minute video. I create a connector here for SID, and you might have seen we support a lot of other IDPs as well. Just give that a name. And then it's a bit boring. I need to cut and paste a couple of data that I did on SID. So either you get that from your IDP team or you follow a step-by-step guide to get to that. It's basically authenticating you against the Microsoft Graph API to be able to access the user data in Entrada or SID. So that are the 3 things I need to do. There's a lot of options that I'm not going to go into. Let's also fetch profile pictures because that's quite nice. And yeah, that's about it. I can save and test here, and I see I get OK, everything fine. That's good. And if you have any errors, then you can have that, what you see there, to help you with troubleshooting. Actually, use something else. Because we have 10,000 users in there, and I don't want to have this sync take forever. Let's only limit it to a certain group in SID. And a lot of customers use something like Jira users or so, for example, to only synchronize the users into Jira that are also allowed to use the application. So I can then do a simulation. So that's all fine with success. And then I can kick off my first sync. And you see it's pending here, done with success, and we synchronized 3 users into our Jira application. You get a lot of additional troubleshooting data if there's anything wrong there, and then usually customers schedule that sync in the application to run like every 30 minutes or so to keep things updated. That's all you need to do to create the connector. If I quickly go back to user management, you can actually see we have 3 more users in here. The groups they belong to have been synchronized into, so they're now in our Jira. Now let's continue with the authentication. So we go to the SAML single sign-on tab here. I need to add a new identity provider. We have a lot of profiles already pre-configured here. Let's say Entrada ID, give it a name again. Next. And this is the data you actually need to give to your IDP team to set up the Entrada side of things. I've done that already, so let's go back and we'll set it up via metadata, so all the important configurations being loaded from Entrada directly via this URL. Let's say import. Next. This says we're matching the usernames are the same on both sides. We actually assured that through the synchronization. There's a lot more complicated things you can do if that isn't the case, which happens in a lot of enterprise environments. But for this quick demo, we're not going to go into this. And we also have a user update method, which is our user sync connector that we created a minute ago. Save that. And essentially the setup is done. And what it allows us now is to do a test login, which is also being tracked via one of our authentication trackers. So I click Start here, and it gives me a special URL, which I copy. And then I'm going to go over to a incognito browser, paste that here. And you see we went to Jira, redirected us to the IDP, and I can't remember the user. So let me copy it. But I hope I can remember the password. Sign in. Yeah, stay signed in, so fine. And now we get redirected back to Jira. And you see the welcome to Jira because it's the first time, or you will see the welcome to Jira in a minute. It's the first time the user logged in. So he gets sort of the welcome splash screen at some point down the line. But we're already successfully authenticated. I can see that by the URL. There we go. So that's fundamentally all you need to do to get single sign-on and user synchronization working between Jira and Microsoft. And Okta, the others, are very similar. So what used to be, what people usually shied away with quite a bit as a complicated thing, is actually for a lot of the basic use cases very, very easy. Yeah? And from there you can dive deeper into other topics. For example, especially with Seibert, we can actually synchronize more attributes from Azure AD into Jira than Jira usually has. And some applications like Linchpin can actually, we can hand them over to Linchpin, have integration there, so that you can actually use departments, who's the manager, those kind of information further there. Other customers use it very much for scripting, like having the manager information there to do approvals on service desk and those kind of things. That's one area you can dive into. There's a lot of configuration that you can do around Jira Service Desk as well. If an organization has guest users, for example, in their IDP, that they have portal access and access to different portals. So there's a very, very many topics that we can't cover in a couple of minutes. Yeah, I think the best thing is to reach out to you or to us, set up a Zoom session, and then it's easy to understand what your requirements are, and then we usually in half an hour or so can actually tell you what kind of setup is the easiest. And also sometimes what kind of migration. So if you come from an on-premise AD or if you have existing users, there's a lot that we have implemented to do those migrations automatically, and hence it's worth talking to us.
Yeah, thank you so much for the overview, and it was great having you here today, Christian.
Oh, thanks for that. Have a nice one.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.